ROTC presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Phoenix International Raceway Chaplain Ken Bowers offers our invocation.
Father, we know that some of the most cherished words in all of language are, I'm here and I'm here for you. Those words come directly from your promise that said, I will never leave you, I will never forsake you. We need you now, God, and ask your blessing upon those who are affected by the tragedy in Paris yesterday. We pray, O Lord, safe racing and a wonderful time today here at our beloved Phoenix International Raceway for Day 3. Thank you, Lord, for the joy we experienced by being here, and everyone said, Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome recording artist and X Factor Season 1 finalist, Drew Reinowitz.
See by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombers singing.
some noise, guys. All right, we have a Jeff Gordon Raceway hat for you, and then you're coming with me to the driver's meeting tomorrow. How's that sound? All right, guys, stick around. The Xfinity Series race is about to start in 30 minutes.
The NASCAR Xfinity Series DAV 200 honoring America's veterans. For more of the storylines for today, let's go to Dave Burns.
Rick, last week at Texas, Kyle Larson led 50 laps in the Xfinity Series race, but the load on the left rear tire with that high bank Texas Speedway was the problem. This weekend at Flat Phoenix, that will not be an issue, and the driver hopes to take the weight off of his shoulders, having not won yet this year. Kelly Stavist?
Just 2 races to go in a 24-point cushion. Chris Buescher has his eye on the championship prize, but he's not getting ahead of himself. Says he's still living in the moment. He knows all they need is a solid top 10 today, but he'd like to make it a top 5, saying it's the best he's ever felt here at Phoenix. Chris Buescher starts 7th, Marty.
Kelly, the numbers will tell you advantage Chase Elliott at Phoenix. He's never finished outside the top 10 at this racetrack, while Chris Buescher has never finished inside the top 10 here at Phoenix. Chase Elliott knows if he wants to make it a real championship battle next week at Homestead, he must gain points today here at Phoenix. Mike?
Eric Jones said earlier this week that he feels like he has a natural ability here at the Phoenix International Raceway. Evidence of that, well, his first 2 Truck Series races here. He went to victory lane in both of those events, but as he pointed out to me moments ago, those races are at night. The Xfinity races during the day. He spent a couple of races in the Xfinity Series here. During the process, he's learned how this track will change throughout the course of the day. He feels like that will bring him success today as he looks for his 3rd Xfinity Series win. Rick?
And Eric Jones running for a championship. He'll be doing triple duty this weekend. He ran in the Camping World Truck Series race last night, got involved in an accident with his closest competitor in the championship run. That was Matt Crafton, but he was able to rebound and get a 9th place finish. And filling in for Matt Kenseth in the Cup Series. We're about ready to fire the engines. Let's go trackside for the command.
And now, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, DAV National Commander, Moses A. McIntosh, Jr.
Drivers, start your engines!
Go ahead, fire up. Please stay still here. Exit, be fire up.
Cars are fired up, fans are fired up. The green flag will be in the air next when we come back to Phoenix International Raceway. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by DAV, a nonprofit dedicated to keeping our promises to America's heroes. X1 from XFINITY will change the way you experience TV. And by Lilly Diabetes.
Give them hell, have fun.
Yes, sir.
You are going into the wall so hard.
Chris Buescher played him like a fiddle.
Regan Smith will win.
Keselowski will win at Texas. Today's starting grid is brought to you by DAV. We look at row 1, Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon. Kyle Busch has 7 Phoenix wins in the Xfinity Series, most of all drivers.
In row 2, we have two-time winner in 2015, Eric Jones, starting next to Brad Keselowski.
In row 3, we have Daniel Suarez, who has a win here in the Mexico Series, starting alongside Brendan Gaughan.
Back in row 4, 2 title contenders. Chris Buescher, the points leader, by 24 over Chase Elliott. Ty Dillon is third in the points.
In row 5, Kyle Larson came so close to winning last week, starting next to Darrell Wallace Jr.
In row 6, 2 other title contenders, Regan Smith and Chase Elliott.
Let's see if we can chat with Chase Elliott. Jeff Burton, grab the microphone.
Hey, Chase, the NBCSN booth, you with us?
Yes, sir.
All right, bud, you're the defending champion. You're 24 point back coming into today. What's it going to take for you to get this year's championship done?
Outrun our opponents. Try to keep it simple. I think we're going to have to go and try to contend for a win these next 2 weeks to give ourselves a chance. And I feel like we got a group that can do it. We just got to work hard, try to put together 2 solid races, and be smart.
All right, bud, thanks for taking a little bit of time this afternoon. Good luck.
Yep, thanks.
And the 2016 Toyota Camry leads the field as the official pace car for today's race. We'll ride along with a few different drivers today, one being the 16 of Ryan Reed. He has the Eli Lilly onboard camera, and he will start 20th. Chase Elliott in the number 9 car has the Chevrolet onboard camera, starting 12th. Ty Dillon with the Xfinity in-car camera, starting in row 4 in that 8th position. Also in row 4, point leader Chris Buescher with the DAV onboard camera, and he will start 7th. Take a closer look at Phoenix International Raceway with today's Track Facts brought to you by GE. Kyle Busch dominant, almost 3 times as many as the closest lap leader to him, Carl Edwards. But Kyle Busch with almost 1,500 laps led at this racetrack, and it accounts for the 7 wins that he's been able to accumulate in the Xfinity Series. Can he do it again? He set a track record earlier today in qualifying, blistering the track record. We'll see if he can maintain that for multiple laps. As we get ready for 200 laps from Phoenix International Raceway, Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon. Green flag is in the air. Kyle Larson just in front of Chris Buescher. Kyle Larson in the 42, Chris Buescher in the 60, and Chris was just a part of 3 wide racing. He was right in the middle.
And Chris misjudged the speed getting into turn 1, ran up behind. Larson really quickly had to check up a great deal, lost 3 or 4 spots in that exchange.
42, Kyle Larson just in front of the 6 of Darrell Wallace Jr. That move that we were just referring to. Take another look at what Chris Buescher got himself into.
You see Chris driving into turn 1. It's difficult to see. Gets in the corner way too deep. Has to slow up to keep from running in the back of Larson. And when he does, he loses all of his momentum. And car's just going by him. Puts him on the outside, getting into 3. Not where you want to be.
Chase Elliott in the 9 at Napa. Chevy Camaro. And the 2 of Brian Scott now side by side for position as they close the gap on the 74 of Mike Harmon.
Oh, that's tight.
Mike Harmon a lap down early. Battle for second. Here comes Brad Keselowski in the 22 as he gets by the 33 of Austin Dillon. And Austin Dillon's going to be moved up the racetrack. A great run by the 20 of Eric Jones. So Jones taking a spot away as well. And right behind Jones, Daniel Suarez in the 18, also trying to close the gap. Now Suarez looking at the outside of the 33 of Austin Dillon.
This track creates a lot of opportunities. The back straightaway is just crazy. You see everybody catches this slow car, and when they do, it just slows everybody's momentum down. Well, now you have this big flat area you can go on. You see all these guys trying to take advantage of it. The problem is now you have to merge, get into turn 3. We see a lot of accidents. The 4 of Chastain is all the way on the bottom of the racetrack. No banking whatsoever, but he made it work.
Kyle Busch has almost a 2-second lead over Brad Keselowski. Eric Jones running 3rd, Austin Dillon 4th, Daniel Suarez is 5th. Very tight. It's Brendan Gaughan just in front of Kyle Larson. That's for 7th.
And this is where into a run we're going to start to see cars change. We're 7 laps into a run. You know, the tires are coming up to temperature. The brakes are starting to get hot. This is when we talk about longer runs. This is when they start 10, 15, 20 laps in. We start to see the car's balance change.
Aggressive line for Kyle Larson in the 42. We saw him go down below the yellow line through the dog leg, and it's definitely a transition change that they go through when they go through that dog leg if they're not up on the racetrack.
Yeah, remember, there is no out of bounds here. You can run anywhere. If it's asphalt, you can run there. So Kyle Larson has been the most aggressive guy using that apron, trying to make a shortcut getting into turn 3. It can be done. We see it every race. There's nothing wrong with doing it. But again, merging back into traffic, trying to find a way to sort it all out in turn 3, that's where the problem happens.
Darrell Wallace Jr. in the 6, just behind Kyle Larson. Darrell Wallace Jr., a 22-year-old out of Mobile, Alabama. Started this race 10th. Moved up a spot into the 9th position. Kyle Busch, they're starting on the pole. Trying to check out on the field. He has a 2.2-second lead over Brad Keselowski. Today's aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn, making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR, inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Watch a live stream of every Xfinity Series race with NBC Sports Live Extra. It's available on your laptop or tablet, smartphone, and connected TVs. NBC Sports Live Extra. It brings you closer to every race. Kyle Busch has led all 14 laps that have been run, and the gap, though, has been closed. It is under 2 seconds between he and Brad Keselowski. Marty.
Rick, before the race, I asked Ty Dillon how much flat track experience he had growing up in his racing career. He said, honestly, not a whole lot. He said, I really wondered early in my career how I would adapt to flat tracks. He said, but that's the discipline that I really picked up on the quickest. Ty Dillon started 8th. He's made his way up to 6th. Not a word on the radio so far. Another championship contender, Regan Smith. They struggled in practice yesterday. The team put a completely new setup on the car overnight and early this morning. Regan said the balance in qualifying was so much different, but so much better for that 7 car. He's been very happy with it. A little bit loose off the corners right now for that 7 machine. Kelly?
The championship leader, Chris Buescher, said that this was the one race he was really worried about. He's never been very strong here. His best finish here at Phoenix is 12th, and they struggled early in practice, but things got better. Now we see the caution is out, Rick.
Caution's out. Car up into the wall, the 13 of Ruben Pardo. And still going slow as he comes out of turn 2, but some smoke rolling out from the right side of that car.
Good, now you cross over. Get to the flat, all the way over.
Ruben's going to try to make it down onto the apron and has done that. This is a racetrack where if you get out of the groove, it's very hard to hang on to, and potentially what Ruben ended up doing going through 1 and 2. Let's take another look.
He enters the corner in the very top lane.
Got a 60 and 80 in front.
I'm so sure he doesn't have just some sort of mechanical failure and was trying to get out of the way. I don't think he ever made contact. I'm not sure, but I just think he had a correct problem. Now pit road is open, and most of the leaders stayed out, but a few are pitting.
A few cars making their way onto pit road, but as you mentioned, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez all stay out. NASCAR fans, here's your choice and chance to celebrate the end of another outstanding race season with all the stars of NASCAR in Las Vegas during Champions Week. For more information, you can visit NASCAR.com/Vegas.
Who's hosting that? Who's that?
Well, as long as the words come out correctly, it will be myself and Chris Devoto.
I expect Chris to do a great job.
Thank you so much for that vote of encouragement. Mike.
Hey, Rick, not a lot of takers under that caution. One reason may be because these teams only have 3 sets of sticker tires in their pit stall. Normally they have 4, only 3 this time around, though, so crew chiefs very conscious and conservative as to when to stop.
And quite a few of the lead lap cars stayed out on the track. And now as the pace car makes its way onto pit road, field back in the hands of Kyle Busch as they enter the restart zone, and green flag back in the air. Kyle Busch in the 54 on the inside. Brad Keselowski in the 22 just behind him. Then it's side by side for third. Austin Dillon and Eric Jones. Jones is going to get the spot. Austin Dillon will drop back to fourth.
That was a clean restart, but we'll keep an eye on it all day long. Rick, this is one of the most difficult racetracks. This front stretch has very little grip on this hard tire. It's hard to get up through the gears cleanly.
Chase Elliott and Chris Buescher continue to run nose to tail. Chris Buescher in the 60. Point leader. Chase Elliott, the closest competitor, 24 points back, and he makes the move down into the apron part of the dog leg to take the pass. And Chris Buescher drops back a spot. Chase Elliott made that move work. Marty.
Championship implications right there, and Chase Elliott certainly knows Phoenix is the weekend when he can take advantage because they've traditionally been better than Chris Buescher here. The one thing that worried Chase Elliott when I talked to him before he climbed in the car, he said early in a run, we have not been good this entire weekend. On sticker tires, we flat struggle, but as the run goes on, we seem to get better. Everybody else falls off. Jeff, how much of that is an advantage when you can be good on the long run here at Phoenix, because we do see some green flag runs here?
Yeah, Marty, we do normally see a lot of green flag runs, and it's important to have a car that can run well on a long run. On the other hand, track position is so important. You don't want to have to give up spots at any point. So I think they'll be trying to work to make their car a little bit better on the start of the runs.
Daniel Suarez able to take the spot away from Ty Dillon. Suarez up to 5th now. Ty Dillon drops back to 6th. Ty Dillon, another one of the drivers on an outside chance of winning this championship with just one race remaining after Phoenix.
Things get very, very narrow entering the corners, especially turn 1. The speed gets so slow in the middle of the corner. Watches all these cars enter turn 1. The 7 thinks he has a spot. Brian tries to protect it in the 2. They make a little bit of contact maybe. 2 gets up the racetrack. That's just everybody fighting for that bottom of the racetrack. You do not want to run into turn 1 on the outside. You just try to protect the bottom all you can.
Eric Jones in the 20, doing the triple this weekend. He'll race in today's race and the Cup race tomorrow, driving for the suspended Matt Kenseth. Just in front of the 33 of Austin Dillon now. Eric Jones has been very impressive, running for a championship in the Cup Series. He is the point leader in the Xfinity Series. He continues to run for wins, not consistently, but in 2016 he'll run for a championship in the Xfinity Series. And then filling in for Matt Kenseth, who was suspended after Martinsville in the Cup Series. He ran in the Texas race last week and will run again tomorrow in the Cup race. Mike.
And, yeah, he has had busy schedules the last couple of weeks, to say the least, Rick, but he sees the benefit in it. He told us earlier this week, he said, look, especially when I run the Cup car, I feel like it helps me when I run the Xfinity Series car. Helps me manage the race and understand it a little bit better. Right now, he's pretty happy with his race car, a little free, but otherwise pretty good.
It's pretty interesting. You see 2 unique thought processes of running turns 3 and 4. Let's see if they're that different in turn 1. As they drive down the corner, you see Austin kind of peeking to the inside, just making the 20 look a little bit. He's not going to fall for that, though. They both get through 1 and 2, pretty much the same. But as they enter turn 3, watch the 20 of Eric Jones, how he stays out against the wall for a long time, gets a big arc on the corner, Doesn't get to the bottom of the racetrack till way around the corner. Actually never got to the bottom that time, but it's, you know, approaching a lap car. But two completely different styles in 3 and 4.
Dave, Kyle Larson is running 7th now, still in the top 10.
Yeah, he was a little disappointed at how the car comes off of the corner and a little bit snug on initial throttle. His crew chief Mike Shiplett told him, hey, if you're comfortable, you can go to 3rd gear and shift to pass some of these guys. He said, already doing it.
So shifting already.
Yeah, especially down in 1 and 2. That low RPM, it leaves these drivers some opportunity.
Out front, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, 1 and 2. Wednesday night is rivalry night on NBCSN. And this week, the Washington Capitals face the Detroit Red Wings at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then on Friday, November 27th, 2015 Discover NHL Thanksgiving Showdown will be on NBC. We'll have an original 6 matchup. The Rangers visit the Bruins. Kyle Busch leading and has led all 36 of the laps that have been run. Battle going on between Ty Dillon, Regan Smith, Brendan Gaughan. Regan Smith able to get by Ty Dillon and take 7th away.
And while that's a decent run in 7th, these two teams have to take advantage of Chris Buescher. He's currently running 13th. The 7 of Regan Smith and the 3 of Ty Dillon, if they want to get back into this championship hunt before Miami, they need to be up running in the top 2 or 3, not just in the back half of the top 10.
A very unique racetrack in Phoenix International Raceway. The front stretch is straight. The back stretch has a dog leg.
Yeah, this back stretch is crazy. Look how wide it is. There's so many places to run. We see here 5 wide. The 4 Chastain. I mean, how many yards away is he from the racetrack? And look at all of this racetrack you have to work with. So there's just so many options for the drivers. Problem is, at some point, you have to come back on the racetrack. Look at all these guys. Not just a few of them, they're using the bottom of the racetrack. But as you get into turn 3, you've got to find a way to get into traffic. And this is where we see so many problems happen. So the speed gets so slow getting into turn 3 with the guys doing that, because the only way to approach the corner with the angle messed up is to slow down. So we see cars running to the back of other cars and entering turn 3 because you just don't expect them to slow down that much. It is the first time I came here to test after they changed this racetrack, and here's a great shot of it. You leave turn 2 and you're on the back straightaway, and you turn, you go downhill into this hole, and then you come out of the hole. It is crazy. I've never seen a racetrack like this. And then I'm sure when they built this and designed this, they had no idea that drivers would be on the apron using it the way they're using it. But It has created a lot of interesting wrecks getting into turn 3, and it completely changes the dynamics, especially on restarts.
And here's an interesting
look at Chase Elliott.
perspective.
Look how low he is.
What Chase Elliott just did, you actually emulated that run in the Toyota on-track car earlier today. This is your helmet cam. Watch the violent movement.
Yeah, that's actually the camera's mounted right on my helmet, and you can see how rough it is, leaving the banking onto the flat and then back on the banking. The track has huge cuts in it where the race cars have bottomed out and torn huge ruts into the racetrack. It is a violent transition.
Well, I think that's the concern for the teams. It might be an advantage for the driver to be able to go down there, but mechanically, can your car withstand that force lap after lap after lap?
And that's one of the things that Chris Buescher can't have, is a mechanical problem to take away some of the lead that he has built. Darrell Wallace Jr. in front of Chase Elliott. Well, as Casey Kane in the 88 this week. Kyle Busch has a 1.5 second lead on Brad Keselowski, Austin Dillon, Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, all running in the top 5. What's the pit window that we're going to see here, Steve? And we've completed 43 laps, probably a little over halfway through a fuel run.
Yeah, about halfway through. Most of these teams can run somewhere between 85 and 90 laps under green. We've had a few caution laps. So it's going to really come down to, tires don't slow down very much. It's really all about your fuel windows and what opportunity you have. But I expect to see cars on pit road somewhere between lap 80 and 85.
Let's get a few updates. We'll start with Marty.
Well, Rick, when I talked to Brad Keselowski before the race, he said, honestly, right now, I feel like we have a second or third place car. I said, what are you missing? About 4/10, he said, to that 54 car, trying to chase down Kyle Busch, and that's the feeling a lot of people get in these Xfinity Series races, chasing that 54 car. Right now for Brad, 2 loose in, 2 tight in the center. Mike?
And a pretty good run for Austin Dillon so far. Talking with his crew chief, Danny Stockman, before the race, he kind of pointed out some critical parts of this racetrack, and Jeff Burton just kind of alluded to it. Turn 2, Stockman says, is the key to getting around this place good. And so far, turn 2 has been a little off for the 33. They've been a little bit loose, but Austin feels like the car will eventually come to him as the track changes. Dave?
Mike, the last 2 races, Darrell Wallace Jr. getting passed right here by Casey Kane has wrecked his primary number 6 car in the final minutes of final practice, 2 weekends in a row. So Seth Barber, his crew chief, told me this morning, I can't say there wasn't a little celebration out of us today when we had our primary car to start qualifying and the race with. Right now, just a little tight. Marty?
This has not been the best track for Chris Buescher, but he said this is the best he's felt here ever at Phoenix. Remember, he qualified 7th, but got a little bit too deep into a corner early in this race, which dropped him back to 13th. He started off a little bit too free, but now is saying he is tight through the center, Rick.
The gap that started as 24 points between Chris Buescher and the 9 of Chase Elliott has shrunk to 21. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Arboni. Are you ready? And by Toyota. Let's go places. Let's take a look at the Toyota driver update. Out in front, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones running fourth, Daniel Suarez in fifth. With more on the 54, Mike Massaro.
And a year ago in this particular race, Rick, you think back to what Kyle Busch did. He led 187 laps, but did not end up with the victory. Believe me, that still sticks in his head. He talked a little bit about it during pre-race. He dominated, but came away empty. Hoping not to have to do the same thing here today, but you can say easily he is dominating. He has led every lap so far. He hasn't even been pushing the car very hard, he said over the radio not too long ago. Meanwhile, Eric Jones, young driver who's won a couple of Truck Series races here at Phoenix. As we mentioned at the top of the show, those Truck Series races, though, are night events. He told me before the race that here during the day, the track is so much different, he's had to learn about it. Right now, he's a little bit free into turn one, tight center, and off of 3 and 4. Kelly?
Daniel Suarez is the rookie out of Mexico, and what a season he's been having. When they raced here back in March, the goal was simply to finish on the lead lap. Now, after such a successful season, their goal is to win here today. He's been running in the top 5, Daniel, saying that he was loose at the start of the run, tight through the center, especially early center, Rick.
Daniel Suarez, top 5. And one of Elliott Sadler running 13th. Behind the 6 of Darrell Wallace Jr. Elliott Sadler trying to stay in front. The 16 of Ryan Reed. Dave?
Rick, he pitted that first time that he had the opportunity. His car was just a little bit freak off of the corner, but it was tight rolling center and loose late exit as the run went on. So they went up 2 rounds on the track power. Remember, Xfinity cars don't have a way to adjust the track power from the cockpit, so he had to come to pit road for that adjustment. Phil Gould decided to do it then and put the first set of fresh 4 tires on.
And he gave up a lot of track position making that change, but he's driven, all the way back up to 13th. So what he's doing right now is he wants his thing to stay green as long as it can, to use those better tires, to get as many cars as he can, use the new tires as an advantage, then get the caution. Now he's made some track position up. So it's in his best interest just for this thing to keep going green.
Well, the other opportunity that the one could have is he might be able to make it a 1 stop from there. As odd as that may sound, they might be playing the fuel mileage game already.
Elliott Sadler is the only driver that pitted early that is still on the lead lap. Only 19 cars on the lead lap. Now Kyle Busch, who's out in front in the 54, seems as though everything going well, but the caution has now come out. And Kyle Busch sure now will be making his way onto pit road, but on the radio they had been talking about a vibration as you see the damage to the 97 of Dylan Kwasniewski.
It's a hard impact for the 97 car.
Definitely narrowed up the front of that car.
See, this is the shot we showed a little while ago. Oh, that's a big hit. Entering the dog leg, you're a long way from the wall, and that dog leg, the way the wall is shaped, that was an exceptionally hard hit. Thank goodness for safer barriers and all the other safety innovations, because that was a hard impact.
And that's not an area that you would expect a driver to lose control of the race car, especially as straight as that 97 went. So you have to look at perhaps, here it is a real speed, a big impact right there, and a tough angle. You'd expect to be looking at a mechanical problem, perhaps a puncture in a tire. Something made that 97 car go straight there for Dylan.
And that was the kind of impact that you saw when he hit. You saw the car slow down. I mean, you could see it. It gets so much slower so quick, and there's the wrecks that really hurt.
As opposed to kind of skipping off of the wall like we've seen many times before.
Where that 97 stopped is the entrance to pit road. So they're going to have to leave pit road closed for a while here until they can get that car removed and cleaned up so the whole field could pit.
We see Dylan climbing out of the car, and he will walk back to the ambulance, take a trip to the infield care center. Big hit, though. We'll take another look. Again, these cars.
That is amazing that he gets out of his car, walks to the rescue squad. I mean, that is a big impact, and what a testament to all the things that have been done inside the race cars, outside the race cars. That is an example of how far we've come on safety.
Mike.
Well, Rick, if you remember a week ago, Kyle Busch had a bit of an issue with the shifter rod and the linkage, and therefore was pretty much stuck in fourth gear most of the race. Well, it sounds like that type of problem may be coming back. Kyle had just mentioned something that he feels like the shifter may be an issue once again. He said he picked up a vibration on the backstretch not too many laps before this caution came out. So we'll have to pay attention to that as this race wears on.
Early issues for race leader Kyle Busch.
And remember, Kyle Busch dominated this race last year. He looked like nobody could run with him. He just dominated it. Keselowski led 187 laps.
Right.
Keselowski passed him on the very last lap. So it's a great example of how this is a tough sport. You know, running well early is great, but you have to be able to finish it off. And every little mechanical failure just puts one more kink in the armor.
You referenced it. Let's look back. Brad Keselowski. Green-white checker. Kyle Busch after he had led 100, and that was his 187th lap led. Brad Keselowski made the move just past the start-finish line and stole the win away. Kyle Busch.
And that's what we talk about when you have a car that's good on the long run versus the short run right there. Brad Keselowski got the tires to cool enough for that green-white checker that he can mount a charge and pass the 54.
Dylan Kwasniewski bringing out this caution. Dylan was the 2012 West Series champ as well as the 2013 East Series champ. Went back-to-back, ran the West Series in 2012, the East Series in 2013, and won both of those championships.
This is the time in the race. We've seen this with Chris Buescher and his team before, where they don't run well in the first run. They come in, they make a change, they work themselves up to the front. We've seen this over and over and over. Be interesting to see if they can do that again this weekend.
Pit road is still closed. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back. Pit road is open, and here they come. Kelly Stavis.
Championship leader Chris Buescher hoping for a top 10 finish today. He had dropped all the way back to 15, saying he was really tight through the center for most of that run. They are going to make a track bar adjustment to the 60 car, and of course fill him up with fuel and a 4-tire change for the 60, Marty.
Regan Smith quite impressive in the middle part of that run. Kelly, he was top 5 in lap times. Really good in 1 and 2. A little too loose into 3 and 4, tight in the middle. They're going to make some changes on that car and 4 Goodyear tires as well. Chase Elliott said his car was tight, center off from 3 and 4. Half pound in the right rear, Mike.
Kyle Busch's car was getting a little bit more tight toward the end of that run, but he's really happy with it. And why shouldn't he be? He's led every lap. No changes. 4 tires and fuel.
The race off of pit road brought to you by Geico. Elliott Sadler, 2-tire stop, gains him 12 positions. Kyle Busch drops 2. Today's aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learned making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Dive deeper into the action with RaceView Premium. Free this weekend. Get access to 3D virtual video, in-car audio, real-time driver stats, and advanced pit road data. Visit NASCAR.com/trial to start following your favorite driver like never before.
Elliott Sadler's only put 2 tires on. This racetrack historically is very, very hard on old tires versus new tires, so it's going to be very interesting to see if the one can even can leave as good as the Keselowski on the outside of him.
Coming into the restart zone, Elliott Sadler, the control car. He goes at the last line. If he can hang on to the lead now.
Hats off to the crew chief Phil Gold, though. What a nice job. They started 17th today. They had to do something to find track position. They were creative. They pitted early, gave them the opportunity 2 tires here. Even if they lose the lead, which it looks like the one car will do, the goal is to just stay up in the top 10 and try to gain some track position.
He did it on pit road. He's hanging on to 3rd now as the battle for 4th behind them.
And Busch made a move on the outside of Keselowski through 3 and 4, showing his strength early.
Kyle Busch will make the pass through 1 and 2. Through the dog leg, he took the top spot away from Brad Keselowski.
That is demoralizing. When you are Keselowski, you have the preferred line. You're leading the race, and a guy passes you on the outside. That is showing off if you're Kyle Busch.
I'm excited to see, though, this 20 of Eric Jones. You know, he hasn't got up to his teammate Kyle Busch to challenge yet. I want to see on that last run, it looked like after a few laps, this 20 showed a little bit of speed. I couldn't tell if Kyle Busch was maybe holding back or the 20 had found speed.
We'll find out as Eric Jones has moved up to 3rd. If he can keep the gap between him and Kyle Busch consistent. Kyle Busch has a 0.3 of a second lead over Brad Keselowski. Eric Jones a second back. And out of the care center is the driver of the 97, Dylan Kwasniewski. Let's go there now with Dave.
And Rick, the best news is that he came out under his own power. How are you, and what do you think happened mechanically to your car?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's hard to say what happened. I don't know if something was going down since the beginning of the race, but it's just extremely unfortunate these guys building a new car, and you want to give them a good finish and just stay out of trouble, get to a pit stop and make adjustments, but just out of our control. Just sad for these guys.
Is that the biggest hit you've taken in this sport?
It was pretty hard. It sucks when you know it's coming like that. It was in the dogleg, which is not a good position since you're carrying a lot of speed, but you know, I'm fine. I just feel bad for these guys. I want them to give a good opportunity to finish every race, and fortunately we didn't get that.
Right, glad you're okay. Dylan Kwasniewski out trying to make one of his limited starts this year in the Xfinity Series, Rick.
Yeah, glad to see him that he's out, but as Dave mentioned, and he was able to mention, very big hit for Dylan Kwasniewski.
This is a big hit. One of the reasons why is look where he hit the wall. He hit the wall where it starts to transition to be straight. He didn't hit the wall where it was still turning. He hit it at the straight part, and the car just digs into the wall, and that's why it slowed down at such a high rate of speed.
As we were talking to Dylan, you see here the 20, Eric Jones, making time up on 2nd place, Brad Keselowski. This 20 car looks really good to me, Jeff. Not only does he carry speed into the corner and gain on the 22, but that left front, especially down here in 3 and 4, he's able to hook that bottom, hook a little bit of the apron, and roll the middle.
Chris Buescher on the back bumper, now on the left rear quarter panel of the 3 of Ty Dillon. Chris Buescher gained some spots on pit road. Chase Elliott lost a couple spots when he was on pit road under this most recent caution. And this race definitely going quick as we're closing in on the 75th lap of 200, Marty.
And Rick, you talk about folks losing spots on pit road. Ty Dillon lost some spots on pit road. And Steve and Jeff, maybe you can explain this a little bit more. You'll see on the top of the steering wheel, there's a piece of tape that tells Ty when the wheel is straight. Well, when he came to pit road, he had that tape where it should have been. But they couldn't get the right front tire off the 3 car. They couldn't get it back on the 3 car. He had to turn the wheel. Took him a long time. They lost a ton of spots on pit road. Restarted 16th. He's already made up 3 spots, but that's a problem here, Steve, isn't it? Often at Phoenix, tough to do here on pit road.
Absolutely, Marty. And actually, if you look at his steering wheel, there's two pieces of tape. There's a green piece and an orange piece. Some of the times on these tracks that are newly paved, you run front toe settings that actually require the driver to turn the wheel just a little bit on the pit stop. One piece of tape while they change right sides. When they drop the jack, you have to turn the wheel just a little bit because the two tires aren't actually pointing in the same direction, and the driver has to compensate for that between changing rights and changing lefts. While that seems simple, when it doesn't work out right, that's what happened. What happened to Ty Dillon, we've seen that before. Doesn't take much to slow down a pit stop.
And that's because of the clearance in the wheel well, that they have to turn the wheel.
Remember, once NASCAR went, I'm going to call it the COT style body, but basically all of these bodies have the same shape, and the tolerance that NASCAR allows is so much smaller. As we see Chris Buescher look to the bottom of Ty Dillon, the teams can't really open these wheel wells up. They're set. There's nothing the teams can do. The driver has to make sure he does his job. That tape is on the steering wheel for a reason.
See Ty Dillon putting up a big fight. You know, he does not want to give any to the 60 of Buescher. They're racing for a championship against each other. He's going to make it really difficult. And on top of that, if he just yields this spot, look what's lined up behind him. You've got two cars on the bottom of the racetrack. So this spot, by losing one, you ultimately can lose 3 spots.
Kyle Larson also wants to get by as he gets to the inside of the 3 of Ty Dillon.
And Jeff, you mentioned it right in front of this battle. Chris Buescher, just like we've seen week in and week out, run average, come to pit road, make some changes, improve our positions.
Trying to win a championship, Chris Buescher running 13th. Let's take a look at the Xfinity speed charts. Kyle Busch continuing to put up impressive laps. 134.61 miles per hour on lap 5. Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, and Daniel Suarez all with the 5 fastest laps from Phoenix.
We talk about Chris Buescher needing to be a little conservative. Well, guess what? He doesn't agree. Catch the 15 of Corbin on that. You know, it makes it 3 wide with Casey Kane on the outside. We don't normally see 3 wide on the exit of the corner. Look how much of the apron he uses. I mean, he has all 4 tires way below the apron leaving turn 4. Makes it work. Ends up getting into turn 1. Completes a pass.
So you're not thinking conservative anymore for the 60?
I've never seen a car get close to the commitment line here at Phoenix for pit road, but Chris Buescher just did it.
Mike Massaro.
Hey, Rick, we talked about Kyle Busch experiencing some problems with the shifter linkage. Well, haven't heard much more about that since. However, he has radioed in that there may be another vibration, but this one might be a little bit different.
This set seems to have more of a vibration. I think this on tires, just because it's everywhere, it's all the way around the racetrack, you know?
So they're obviously dealing with some situations there, but they're still awfully strong, as you can see out front. The only thing else that he said is that he's sliding the rears a little bit more this run, a little bit more free.
The biggest problem with that vibration, Rick, if it is in the tires, is that's taking away grip. Everything you do as a crew chief to try to gain grip in the tire, whether it's to change a shock absorber or change your air pressure, it's all working on that tire, riding the asphalt as smooth as possible. Well, if that tire is out of balance and it has a vibration of its own, it is definitely not going to grip the asphalt as well as it needs to.
Chase Elliott looks to the inside of Brendan Gaughan. Chase not able to complete the pass. Brendan Gaughan holding on to 10th. Chase Elliott 11th. Chris Buescher just behind them in 12th.
Chase looks in his mirror, and who does he see?
I was going to say, I truly believe wherever Chase Elliott was running, Chris Buescher would be right next to him. It's been like that for 2 or 3 weeks, and that's what he has to do. If he can see the 9 car.
I'll give you 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
20 races plus that these two have been fighting and challenging each other on the racetrack, trying to gain every point, every position from each race. Chase Elliott is the defending Xfinity Series champion, but now it's in jeopardy as Chris Buescher has a 23-point lead as they run on the racetrack.
And this is why I'm a proponent to a full year championship in the Xfinity Series. I love the pressure of the Chase format in the Sprint Cup, but I like to see these young stars like Chase Elliott and Chris Buescher have to learn to race against one another all year long. Give and take. When do you push? When do you receive? When do you let a guy have a position? I think it really forces maturity out of these drivers at a quicker rate to learn how to put up with one another for a full season.
And right in the middle of those 2 championship contenders is Brendan Gaughan. Dave?
Yeah, Ricky doesn't want to be a part of the headlines here and anything going on with these 2 championship contenders, but they've been really struggling for speed lately. Shane Wilson, his crew chief, told me, and Brendan Gaughan has been they've been sort of jumping around on setups. He said that's really gotten us off our game. On that last run, near the end of the run, Brendan said all of a sudden I just couldn't get through the center, so they stopped for 4 tires and adjustments to try to get the 62 better.
Pit road, last on for lead lap cars, lap 63. There are still 19 cars on the lead lap. Jeremy Clements got the free pass after the most recent caution. Regan Smith still right in the hunt for the championship. Marty.
And right now, Regan Smith running in the 6th position, Rick. They are very good on the long run. Problem is, on the short run, they give up so much time they can't catch up to the guys in front of them. Right now, Regan is the highest running of the championship contenders. But he said earlier this week, trust me, no one's coming here to think about finishing second in the championship. We need to win this weekend to put ourselves in championship contention at Homestead, Mike.
And winning is certainly on the mind of the 2 team and Brian Scott. Right now, though, they're having similar problems to what they experienced during practice. 2.5 hours of practice yesterday, and they did not keep up with the track, admitted Mike Hillman Jr. The crew chief said the car just got way too tight. They made big changes before qualifying, but that's the same scenario here. The car tighter as the runs go on. Kelly?
It's been a difficult weekend for Casey Kane and this 88 team. They were not very good in practice, made some big changes that didn't pay off. Then they struggled in qualifying. They had to start 16th, although Casey thought maybe it was better. But now he's saying it is just really loose in and off this run. I hope it comes to me soon. He restarted 7th after the caution, has fallen all the way back to 15th. And Casey ended by saying, I sure liked it better when I was tighter on that last run.
And a lot of tape on the windshield for Casey Kane because the sun, as it continues to set, will be in their eyes as they enter turn number 1. And Casey Kane expecting that, so they have plenty of tape on the windshield. Out front, Kyle Busch. He's led 90 laps. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by DAV, a nonprofit dedicated to keeping our promises to America's heroes. And by X1 from XFINITY, to change the way you experience TV. Welcome back to the NASCAR XFINITY Series DAV 200, honoring America's veterans. To the Valley of the Sun. And it has been a beautiful sunny day today in Avondale, Arizona, just to the west of downtown Phoenix. Kyle Busch, after we've completed 101 laps, has led 97 of them. Elliott Sadler was out for 3 laps up front as Brad Keselowski led a lap. Ryan Reed in the 16 just got into the wall. Let's take a look. We ride along with him.
Down, right? All right, got one coming here. Clear low. Coming to you guys.
He was 16. Excuse me. The 16 was running 16th, and Chris Buescher got a little bit loose in the 60.
Yeah, that was entering turn 1. We talk a lot about how important it is to be able to get into turn 1 and carry the speed, but it's not uncommon to get loose as the run gets on. You get older tires, get into turn 1 becomes more difficult. That's what that was. That was just loose getting into 1.
Dave.
You see the one car of Elliott Sadler. He wanted some adjustments on that second pit stop actually for him. Remember, he pitted early for 4 tires, and then the car was really tight rolling the center. Crew Chief Phil Gould said, you know what? We're going to just put 2 right side tires on you and see what happens. It's been holding very well. It started out crazy loose at the start of the run, according to the driver, but now it's leveled off a bit, and Elliott's hanging on with just 2 fresh right side tires.
How much will the competitors look at that the next time they come to pit road, thinking I could grab some positions, maybe make up 7 spots or so like Elliott Sadler has been able to do?
They pay attention to everything. There's no question about it. So remember, he pitted a little bit early that first time. He pitted on lap 18. So, he didn't have a lot of laps on the left side tires. So that's why that worked.
Still 16 cars on the lead lap, but grueling pace set by Kyle Busch. He's still turning laps just over 27.5 seconds. Brad Keselowski almost 2 seconds back. Eric Jones is 5 seconds behind Kyle Busch. Austin Dillon 7 seconds. Daniel Suarez 9 seconds back. Regan Smith, who's running 6th, is already 10 seconds behind race leader Kyle Busch.
Yeah, and what makes this so difficult of a race is not just the speed of Kyle Busch, but the speed of the race. We're 5 laps past halfway already. We've only had 1 shot to work on the race cars on pit road. And these short Xfinity races with the tire limit and just a limited amount of pit stops, if you are struggling and don't hit the balance right off the start, it's very hard to find it.
We see the 54 car. He talked about the pace that he's making. The guy that's in danger is Chris Buescher. Chris is only about a half a straightaway ahead of Kyle Busch from going a lap down. So Chris and his team, they've got to try to find a way to get some speed. We saw as he tried to push the car to ask more of the car, it would not take it, getting loose into turn 1. So, if this thing goes green, Kyle Busch continues to catch him at the rate, he will put him a lap down.
And you can only be lucky so long. And I think that the 60 has done a great job all year about making adjustments. But there's also caught some good breaks, some timely cautions, not getting laps down. Like you say, Jeff, if this run goes long enough and the 60 gets lapped, but Chase Elliott doesn't, Regan Smith doesn't, that's when you can start to see a lot of points be gained.
Chase Elliott is 5 seconds in front of Chris Buescher. As you mentioned, Chris Buescher just about a half a straightaway in front of race leader Kyle Busch, trying to hang on to a lead lap position.
And those kind of things don't help him. Having to pass these lap cars on the outside, that really hurts your speed. It's going to be interesting to see if Kyle can get through traffic a little bit better. That'll cut into the deficit even larger.
Chris Buescher trying to hang on to his lead lap position. He is running 15th. Kyle Busch up front. third caution has come out. It was for the 51 of Jeremy Clements, and we'll see how many make their way onto pit road. Looks like Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski are going to lead the field onto pit road. Kyle Busch has led 109 laps of the 113 that have been run. Kelly.
Good timing for Chris Buescher, who was hanging on to the lead lap. He said the car fired off pretty well, but then the tightness came on really hard. They're going to take out 2 rounds of wedge out of the right rear. They first called for a 2-tire stop. Now they're going to give him 4 Goodyear tires, Marty.
Regan Smith said the car just took too long to come in that time, too tight in the middle of 3 and 4. He's top right of your screen. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment on that 7 car. For Chase Elliott, he said, I can't start much freer than I did last time, but it was really good in the middle part of the run, Mike.
Marty, Kyle Busch has dominated the first half of this race, leading 109 laps. Rode out a loose wheel, he thought, over that last course of the run. 4 new tires, no adjustments, and Sunoco race fuel.
Race off pit road, Brad Keselowski gaining a spot over Kyle Busch. Ty Dillon trying the gamble of 2 tires, and he gains 9 positions on pit road. The reason for the caution, Jeremy Clements, right front tire goes down, and into the wall he goes. You're watching the NASCAR Xfinity Series DAV 200, honoring America's veterans. Let's go down to the Toyota Camry on-track car.
Yeah, Rick, we've seen a couple right front tires go down, and what it looks like to me is it looks like they're melting right front beads. So as a driver, Jeff, you have some tools inside the race car that you can move the brake bias off the front to the back and perhaps help those right front tires.
Yeah, the problem with that is, though, you melt a bead typically later in the run, and we saw Chris Buescher, when he got in the corner in turn 1, he got really loose and had to chase the car off the racetrack. The more rear brake you put in it, taking heat off the fronts, the harder it is to get in the corner because you get looser. So there's always this balance the driver has to play. How much front brake, how much rear brake.
And you adjust that with that knob on the right side of the dash. You can reach up as a driver and turn it to the left normally, puts rear brake in it, and you turn it to the right. Right there with your right hand, you can adjust the brake bias from front to back with the knob right on the dash.
And without getting overly complicated, there's also many teams will actually put a brake lever in the car that will shut the brakes off of one particular wheel. So you can change the brake bias front to rear, but you can also start taking brake away from the left rear. You can do those kind of things also on these tracks where rear entry becomes a problem, rear grip entry becomes a problem.
Speaking of problems, Chris Buescher trying to not have any problems in this race. But on pit road, I noticed very tight wheel wells, and we had mentioned this earlier about the wheel having to be in the right position.
So what happens when you come to Phoenix, a very smooth racetrack? You're able to get very aggressive with your suspension settings, very aggressive with your shocks, which mean you're going to hold the front of the car down on the racetrack. The problem is on the pit stop, you see here the tire comes out okay, but he had a hard time getting the next tire in because the suspension doesn't droop out, doesn't fall out of the wheel well. The shock is so powerful, it holds that tire up against the fender, makes it hard to change. It's an advantage on the racetrack, disadvantage on pit road.
Kelly.
And Chris Buescher, aware of the lengthy stop, he asked how he could help out that situation.
What do I need to do to help that tire come out? You want me to turn it a little bit? You want me to just try not to set the nose as hard?
Yeah, we're just talking about definitely just not set the nose quite as hard here.
Okay. Well, I'll come in easier than that. Box are slick, so I kind of panicked, but I can fix that.
And then just moments ago, it sounded like his crew chief, Scott Graves, told him that they should be good on fuel conservatively, and he asked if the tires would last as well. So they could be good to go from this point on.
Yeah, so we just saw an explanation from Steve about how the front of the car was held down. When the car got jacked up, the wheel never came out. So what Chris can do is he can just get in the pit easier. So the front never falls, never compresses the front. So when the car gets jacked up, the wheel's not already up in the wheel well, and that way it's easier to get the wheel off. So, you know, you think, well, how can the driver impact something like that? But that's how he can. And you know what? Great for him for asking the question. You know, no one just volunteered him. He said, hey, is there anything I can do to help that situation? Then the answer came, yes, try this. So that's a good job by a driver saying, you know what, maybe I can help, and not just blame it on the pit crew.
16 got a penalty on pit road for too many men over the wall. So Ryan Reed, penalty on pit road. Sunday Night Football is live from Seattle tomorrow on NBC. The big NFC West matchup as the 6-2 Cardinals visit the 4-4 Seahawks. And looking ahead to Thanksgiving night on NBC, Green Bay is going to honor Brett Favre, retire his number 4 when the Bears face the Packers at Lambeau Field. Marty.
And Rick, just to throw another dynamic in all of this, when those pit stops fell, it is right on the window for these race teams. Some of the guys in the top 10 can make it, some cannot. Brad Keselowski can. Championship contender Chase Elliott cannot make it to the end of the race on fuel. That's going to make things very interesting in what's been a very green race so far.
Yeah, when it comes to fuel mileage, advantage the Fords. They've gotten best fuel mileage all year long. We've already seen Chris Buescher stretch his fuel. Disadvantage the Chevrolets and Junior Motorsports.
There's a Ford on the front row. Kyle Busch on the inside. Brad Keselowski on the outside. Green flag back in the air.
Interesting pick by Brad, picking the outside. He had the choice. He chose the outside. Doesn't look like it's going to work for him.
And he was on the outside when he started the race, or restarted the race with Kyle Busch, and wasn't able to hang on to the lead. Now battling back on that high line. Through 3 and 4, not going to be able to hang on to the lead. Kyle Busch back out front. Battle for third is on. Ty Dillon on the outside of Eric Jones.
We go to the bigger racetracks, Michigan, those kind of races, Charlotte, those kind of racetracks, that without a doubt, you take the outside because you can carry your momentum so much better. But a place like Phoenix, much tighter corners, and many times the bottom is the way to go. So I thought that was an interesting choice. As this race goes on and the outside becomes better and better, more rubber on the outside, I think that option becomes a better option. I think that's an option tomorrow that will be better as well. But this early, although it's late in the race, it's just not enough rubber to pull that off just yet.
Brian Scott in the 2 on the inside. Darrell Wallace Jr. in the 4 on the outside. Brian Scott going inside the yellow line through the dog leg and staying in front of Darrell Wallace Jr., who tries to cross over. Get back to the inside of Brian Scott as those two fight for the 8th position on the track. He's got it. Had the front fender to the inside of Brian Scott, who goes way up the racetrack, and now Darrell Wallace Jr. taking advantage of that, and he'll take the position back. Chase Elliott following to the inside of Brian Scott. And now Brendan Gaughan will try to do the same. We saw it earlier in the race. Drivers that maybe try to charge into the corners just a little bit too hard wash up the racetrack, allowing some of the other drivers to get underneath and make the passes as we see Austin Dillon and Ty Dillon. Austin in the 33, Ty in the 3. Older brother just took younger brother's spot. Marty.
And Rick, just to follow up on the pit stop for Ty Dillon last time, they took 2 tires on that stop. I asked Nick Harrison why make that strategy call. He said, well, they lost spots on that first stop. Remember that when they took 4 tires? So took 2 this time, trying to get them up front because they believe in how fast the car is. They just needed a little track position. We'll see how it works out.
I like the call when the one car made it for 2 tires, but that's because the laps on the left side were very low. They had 15 or 20 laps. This 3, though, has way more laps on their left side tires. I love the aggression, but I just don't think the calculated risk is going to be worth the gamble here for the 3.
Strategy pit call for Ty Dillon in the 3. They're trying to hang on to a top 10, running 6. We stay NASCAR nonstop. Welcome back to Phoenix International Raceway, and let's take a look at today's Hisense Smart Race Strategy.
Yeah, it all starts with in-shop preparation. We talked about cars that have unloaded off the marks, had to make big adjustments. That's too hard when you're trying to chase a guy like Kyle Busch. And then mistake-free pit stops. You only got to get a couple, maybe 3 shots at it. They have to be good pit stops.
Yeah, I think aggressive restarts ultimately can make the difference in this race. When we get a caution late in the race, you're going to have a good restart. If you give up the spot, it can take several laps to get it back, even with a faster car. So you're going to have to be aggressive.
Maybe an aggressive setup for the 42 of Kyle Larson. Had his hands full just a few laps ago. The 42 was sideways. Take a look.
He's way up the racetrack already, and the car gets loose. He stays in the gas, it appears, and tried to do everything he could with it, but it's hard to drive the car that loose.
A little bit later, following the one.
we have a common theme here.
The back end continues to kick out, Dave.
Losing positions as he goes too, and Jeff, the only thing they could really tell him was turn off the fans that are blowing onto the front wheels there. That would cause the air pressure to come up. How often had you found that worked?
When a car is that loose, never. When the car is a little bit loose, it helps some. But when you're that loose, turning fans on and off isn't going to do much.
And really, there's a few. We see the 88. It really brings me to the same point. The 88 of Casey Keen's 13th, Larson 16th. These are uncanny positions for these guys. We expect these Cup regulars, when they come over to the Xfinity Series on Saturday, they run closer to the front. But this just proves how good these young stars of the Xfinity Series are. Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, Ty Dillon.
What about Ryan Sieg?
Yeah, exactly.
39. Ryan Sieg, just a 28-year-old out of Tucker, Georgia. Single car
with
single car team. Ryan Sieg's best finish in Phoenix, a 14th. That was last year. Coming off a 13th place finish at Texas. So Ryan Sieg trying to impress. Ryan Sieg running 15th. Kyle Busch out front as we go NASCAR nonstop. Welcome back to the NASCAR Xfinity Series DAV 200, honoring America's veterans. Kyle Busch trying to dominate once again and close the deal, as he was unable to do a year ago. Let's go through the field. We'll start with Mike Massaro.
And you know, Rick, if you add the laps to his resume of what he's led today, Kyle Busch has led over 1,500 laps in the Xfinity Series here in Phoenix. Just absolutely remarkable. Over the course of this run, however, he's saying the splitter's just a little bit on the ground. That's the only change in the balance of that race car. As for fuel, his crew chief Chris Gale says they believe they're one lap to the good. Marty?
Mike, on the last run, Brad Keselowski told Greg Irwin, his crew chief, this is the best we've been all weekend long, Greg, and they still can't catch that 54 car. You know, this 22 team has won the last 2 Xfinity Series races here at Phoenix. Today, Brad driving the car that Joey Logano won with here in the spring, Mike.
Eric Jones' only concern so far throughout the course of the day is how the balance of the race car changes over the course of a run. He says, we need to start off so loose, it's almost wrecking loose because the car gets so tight at the end of the run. Last time down pit road, 4 tires, track bar, and wedge, trying to make sure he has the right balance to get to the end of this run, Kelly.
Rookie Daniel Suarez has had 16 top 10s this season. When his crew chief was asked what he likes most about him, he said he has this ability to take an 8th place car and accept it and not overperform with it. Most rookies don't have that right now. Daniel's saying he's loose in and tight off, Mike.
And Austin Dillon experiencing something very similar, very loose. They went down on the track bar last pit stop, expecting them to go more down on the track bar next pit stop. Also, they've told him to put more front brake in it, trying to help him tighten that car up a little bit more, Marty.
Mike, after that 2-tire stop for brother Ty Dillon, he restarted 3rd. He's fallen back to 6th, but he's kind of hung on right there. His dad, Mike Dillon, on the radio, he says he's loose in. Remember that front brake. Dial a little bit in. That'll help that loose in for Ty Dillon. Right behind him is Regan Smith, and they keep preaching patience on this car because it takes a while for this car to come in. But when it does, second half of the run, Regan Smith, one of the fastest cars out there, a little bit too loose right now for him, Dave.
Seth Barber told me this morning that they made their Roush Fenway cars better this time, but driver number 6, Darrell Wallace Jr., also did some changing. He watched some tape of Kevin Harvick. He backed up the entry to his corner. He's been better at this track, Marty.
Dave, no doubt Chase Elliott has some good memories of Phoenix. Last year in this race, he finished 5th, clinched the Xfinity Series championship. This year, trying to get back into that battle and catch Chris Buescher. The car a little bit too loose for Chase right now. And of the fuel people, they were about 2.5 laps short, so a little concern there. But that extended caution, Mike, helped everybody out.
Including the 2 car, Mike Hillman Jr., the crew chief for Brian Scott, told us earlier this week and said, hey, look, since we've fallen out of the championship race, our focus has been on one thing. That's been getting a trophy, and because of that, we've been much more aggressive in our pit calls and our strategy. Right now, Brian, okay with the balance of the car, although it's getting tight like everybody else, Kelly.
As they run, Chris Buescher has a 19-point lead in the championship standings. He said, in this scenario, we just can't take any chances to go for a win. But I like where we are, though, because this system has really rewarded our consistency. They've got 2 wins and 20 top 10 finishes so far this year. And right now, he's saying he's still got a tight race car, but it's a little bit better, Rick.
Laps winding down. The last 2 races of the 2015 season. Chris Buescher trying to hang on to win a championship. Kyle Busch is out front. We go NASCAR nonstop. Today's aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Tomorrow, the Sprint Cup Series playoffs continue. Pre-race begins live at 1:30 p.m. on NBCSN. Then race coverage on NBC at 2 p.m. for the Quicken Loans Race for Heroes 500. Who's going to join Jeff Gordon in Miami with a chance at the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship? Kyle Busch continuing to lead. Kyle has a 2.6 second lead over Brad Keselowski running second. Eric Jones 4.5 seconds back. Ty Dillon, the closest championship competitor to the front. He's running sixth. As you see the championship Xfinity Series points on the top of your screen, Chris Buescher with a 19-point lead over Chase Elliott, 22 over Ty Dillon, and 24 over Regan Smith.
Somebody needs to make Chris Buescher and his team pay for not running as well. One of these guys needs to step up and find a way to get a top 2, top 3 finish. You know, this is the day where if you could find a way to execute, get a better finish, then you can have some pressure applied to them going to home, going to Miami.
Austin Dillon gave up the 7th position to come to pit road.
Yeah, half a can.
Mike.
And Rick, he had radioed in not too long ago saying he's starting to feel a vibration. They believe he has a loose wheel. They're not going to take any chances. They'll bring him down pit road. They'll go to work on the right side. It will be a right side tire change. They are good on fuel, though, they think, so they're away.
I don't like that call, Rick. Anytime a driver has a loose wheel, I don't think it's a good idea to leave it up to him to decide whether it's a right or a left. You already have taken the time to come to pit road. I think a wiser decision with 37 to go is to put 4 tires on that car, try to put as much speed in it as for the run to the finish.
The only thing about that is if a tire changer says, you know what, maybe I didn't, I think I got it, but if somebody on the pit crew that said there's a possibility I didn't get something tight, then you could go on that. But to trust the driver, that's hard to do, because I can tell you there's been many times I said we have a right front, we have a left rear, whatever loose, and the majority of the time I was wrong.
Did you document that, Steve? The driver just mentioned he was wrong.
Yeah, I heard the cheer from the Cup garage of all the crew chiefs. They heard it sitting in their hollers.
Well, I'm not a driver anymore, so I can.
That's right.
Things, right?
That's right.
Sorry, drivers.
Chase Elliott, 2014 versus this season. 3 wins a year ago, only 1 time to victory lane in 2015. Average finish very close. Top 10 finishes the same. Top 5 finishes. The gap there between 15th and 11th. Again, comparing the 2 seasons, his championship season in 2014 and this year, where he is 18 points back from Chris Buescher. Marty?
Rick, a moment ago, Jeff mentioned that someone needs to pay for Chris Buescher not running so well. Chase Elliott would be first in line of the guys who would love to do that. Closest to him in the championship battle. Right now, just 19 points behind, or 18 points behind, but the car has just not been there for Chase Elliott all day long. It's not very good firing off from the beginning part of a run. In the middle and the end part of the run, it's not bad, but right now, a moment ago, Chase just radioed to Ernie Cope and said the car is tight, the worst it's been all day. How frustrating that must be, Jeff, to know the opportunity is there. Your championship rival's not running very well, but you just can't capitalize.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. You know that Chase Elliott and his team are frustrated anyway. They're running 7th. Their teammate Smith is running 6th right in front of them. They're just going to have to find a way. Unless Buescher has a problem today or in Miami, they're not going to 5th, 6th, 7th their way into this championship. They've got to separate themselves, get wins, top 2, top 3 finishes if they have a shot.
When Jeff Gordon announced that he would be retiring after the 2015 season, it was made known that Chase Elliott would take over for Jeff Gordon in 2016. We'll be moving up to the Cup Series after Chase Elliott won a championship last year in the Xfinity Series and trying to defend that title this year as he continues to work his way toward the front and close the gap between him and Chris Buescher. Buescher with an 18-point lead now over Chase Elliott. There are 15 cars on the lead lap. Chris Buescher is running 13th. Chase Elliott is 7th. Regan Smith just in front of him in the championship run, as well as Ty Dillon running 5th. It's Kyle Busch out front as we go NASCAR nonstop. "23 laps to go in the Xfinity Series DAV 200, honoring America's veterans. Phoenix International Raceway. Kyle Busch out front. Let's get more updates. We start with Mike Massaro.
Well, Rick, a dominant day like this, it's hard to believe anything could derail him. But if there is one thing that could, it could be fuel mileage. Everybody watching their fuel mileage as we speak. However, Kyle Busch's crew chief, Chris Gale, told him during the middle of this run they believe they're real close, but think they're one lap to the good. Marty?
For Brad Keselowski in second position, Greg Irwin told me earlier they can make it all the way on fuel. However, he's tighter on this run. When you're tighter, Mike, you use more fuel.
Well, that has not necessarily been the case for Eric Jones. He's been loose, especially early in a run. And, well, he is one of those guys that is very close. He may be short. They told him to save a couple of laps before this run. They haven't got any cautions to help out. Kelly?
Daniel Suarez running fourth. The team has not told him to save fuel, and they're usually pretty proactive in reminding him to do so. So indication is that they are good to go on fuel, Marty.
Kelly talked to Nick Harrison, the crew chief for Ty Dillon. He said they were right on the number, and a green-white checkered would be dicey if they could make it all the way from there. So we'll see if they can make it on fuel. For Regan Smith, they were one lap short, but they recently told him, don't worry about saving fuel anymore. We think we're to the good right now. And for Chase Elliott, they were 2.5 laps short, but now the team feels pretty good about it. Again, that extended caution helped everybody, but it's going to be close for a lot of these race teams. Kelly?
After the last pit stop, Scott Graves telling Chris Buescher to save some fuel, but he has not said anything since, and he did not tell him just how much, so it could be close on the 60.
And things getting close to the 60, going a lap down. Chris Buescher running 13th is the last car on the lead lap, and Kyle Busch continuing to run great lap times.
The one thing that Chris does have an opportunity to have a little bit of a break is that as a 54 catches the 60, the next car that is on the lead lap is a 62, and he's way ahead of Busher. So even if he gets caught and gets passed, he probably will be in that free pass position for quite a while.
With 18 laps to go in this race, Kyle Busch wondering if he should start saving fuel. Here's what he had to say on the radio.
Save any, are we good? We're good for at least 2 green, white checkers. If we're everything to save, just to save tires more than anything else, but I'm sure it'll help us save a little fuel too. Yep.
I like that strategy. What the crew chief's saying there is save some tires. You have a 3-second lead. He's already planning ahead. If the caution comes out inside 10 to go, maybe we don't need new tires. Take it easy on this set right here. Make them last. Perhaps that's the set you're going to finish on, even if we get a caution.
Kyle Busch lost the race a year ago on a green-white checkered restart. Does not want to have that replay in 2015.
Right around with Chase Elliott running in 7th position. He and Smith are the 2 highest running guys. Regulars have an opportunity to gain some ground on Busher today. I'll show you what Chase is dealing with. This is something that all the drivers deal with. He is in a lot of traffic. So as he leaves turn 4, the sun is starting to set in turn 1. Look at the view he has. As he catches the lap car, he can hardly see turn 1. You cannot see the lines on the bottom of the racetrack. Right here, the glare on the bottom of the racetrack is very difficult. This is only going to get worse as this race goes on. If we do get a caution and we have a late race restart, it's going to be a battle to get into turn 1 and not being able to see.
Jeff, the other thing that we've got to point out is this camera is actually on top of the car. This is not looking through the windshield, and the windshield can get beat up by the sand and everything hitting it.
That's right. And again, look at the glare on the racetrack as he gets ready to get into turn 1 right here. And that carries in as the sun gets lower, that only gets worse, and that glare covers more parts of the racetrack. And again, you cannot see where the bottom of the racetrack is any longer. You can't see the line, you can't see the wall. It's very, very difficult. So if we do get a green-white checkered or we get a late race caution, that's only going to get worse.
With more on race leader Kyle Busch, Mike Massaro.
Just wanted to add to the conversation about the sun glare, Rick. I saw something that I thought was rather interesting yesterday as practice concluded. Right about the same time of day, Kyle Busch got out of his race car and pulled his Sharpie out of his pocket. Not uncommon for Kyle Busch. He uses the Sharpie a lot on a race weekend, but not for this. He wrote on his windshield, marked different spots, indicating to his team where he wanted some additional tape to block out the sun. So some advanced planning by a driver who certainly knows what to expect here in Phoenix.
We talked about it earlier, Rick, and here you are riding along with Chris Buescher, looking back at the leader, Kyle Busch. With 13 to go, while this doesn't affect the race for the win as much, this can definitely affect the championship, because now if we have a late race caution, Chris Buescher's still stuck a lap down. He might get the lucky dog, but he'll start at the tail end. Perhaps Dillon, Smith, or Elliott could work a pit strategy, get up to the front, gain those points.
I think that's the key. He would start at the tail end, so he wouldn't be in the middle of all the action. He won't be in position to pick up spots. Some other guys could play some strategy and maybe steal a win.
Kyle Busch just put Xfinity points leader Chris Buescher a lap down. Now there are only 12 cars on the lead lap. That has been the incredible pace that Kyle Busch has been running. There's only been 3 cautions in this race as we have just 11 laps to go. Casey Kane chasing after Brian Scott.
See Casey Kane working the outside groove. We're starting to see a few more drivers run 3 and 4 on the outside. Also 1 and 2, we're seeing the groove starting to widen out. So as we think about the race tomorrow, we're starting to see the formation of a multi-groove racetrack.
Casey Kane still trying to clear that 2 of Brian Scott as they go 3 wide, getting ready to go into turn number 3.
That's a good job by the spotter. The spotter on the 2 car had to let the driver know that you're 3 wide on the bottom. If you didn't know you had cleared that 0 car, the 88 went side by side with him. You would assume the 88 would have cleared him. You would have gone up thinking you were going to have more racetrack to use. Instead, the spotter said you're 3 wide on the bottom, kept Brian where he needed to be. That was nice work.
Jeff, you mentioned that Chris Buescher had a little bit of help because the next car in front of Kyle Busch was the 62. Well, Kyle Busch, at the pace he set, he's already caught the 62. When Kyle Busch passes the 62, that eliminates Chris Buescher from the lucky dog position. Look at the traffic, though.
Now the traffic coming into play as Kyle Busch catching some of the slower cars on the track. He's caught up to the 62. of Brendan Gaughan. Brendan Gaughan is running 12th and trying to stay on the lead lap, but Kyle Busch will go by him on the outside, putting Brendan Gaughan a lap down.
Now I think it's all about fuel. Who of our points leaders saved fuel? Has Kyle Busch saved enough? Does he have enough? His teammate or his team thinks he does to make it to the finish. But how about Ty Dillon, Regan Smith, Chase Elliott running 5th, 6th, 7th? Chris Buescher back in 13th. If one of these cars, if Chris Buescher runs out of fuel, the points implication could be huge.
And who has been the best at saving fuel in this series? With all the guys racing for the points, who has been the best? Chris Buescher. He's done a better job. He's been able to win some races, put himself in position. And the worst has been the junior motorsports cars. They have a tough time with fuel mileage, so we'll see if that plays out today.
The championship gap between Chris Buescher and Chase Elliott, 18 points separating the top two. Ty Dillon, Regan Smith also closing the gap, 22 and 24 points respectively. Now the big question, will they have enough fuel to get to the end? 6 laps to go. Kyle Busch is out front. Brad Keselowski 2.7 seconds behind. The gap is big enough. Kyle Busch could be getting out of the gas a little bit earlier, trying to save fuel with so few laps to go.
And this is the longest green flag run we've had today at 75 laps. There's no guarantee we're not going to have a caution. Perhaps somebody could have an issue here in the closing laps.
Kyle Busch not letting off much as he continues to pass the lap down cars. And this time by 4 laps to go. 4 more miles from Phoenix.
If you're Chris Buescher's crew chief, you have to be telling him, save fuel, save fuel. You cannot get your lap back right now. Just save fuel. The only guy coming behind him is Austin Dillon. Remember, Austin pitted a little while ago. He's got himself back into this position, but he's still a full straightaway behind, so he has plenty of time to save fuel, play it safe.
Kyle Busch is the winningest driver as he has now 3 laps to go, not only at Phoenix but in the Xfinity Series. Kyle Busch has 75 wins in the Xfinity Series, and when we ask drivers that are regulars in the Xfinity Series, how do you feel about the Cup drivers coming and racing in the Xfinity Series? Almost to a man, they will say we love it, because that's the way we judge how good of drivers we are. If we can race against the best, that tells us how good of racers we are. Now, 2 laps of racing to go for Kyle Busch. The gap between Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski, almost 4 seconds. Regan Smith catching up to the 9 of Chase Elliott. Ty Dillon running 5th. Regan Smith 6th. Chase Elliott 7th. Every position is a point.
It's something worth mentioning. Toward the back of the field, Chris Buescher has caught Brendan Gaughan trying to pass him to become the first car a lap down. The question is, are you pushing too hard? Are you burning too much fuel?
The next flag that comes out will end the race. We've seen the white flag come out. The 54 of Kyle Busch making his way into turn number 3. As he goes through the center of 3 and 4, Kyle Busch is going to add to his win list. 8 wins at Phoenix.
Good job, team. Way to go. Good job, Gale. Thanks, guys. Good job, bud. Way to be dominant there.
In the championship run, Regan Smith finishes just in front of Chase Elliott. Chris Buescher trying to come home in the 13th spot, a lap down. The championship implications get tighter. It won't be a breeze for Chris Buescher when he goes to Miami next week. Chris Buescher, Chase Elliott, Ty Dillon, and Regan Smith continue to fight for a championship as Kyle Busch is going to burn down the rear tires of the 54. Kelly.
Standing by with Kyle's crew chief, Chris Gale. Dominating win, but just how close were you guys on fuel there at the end?
Not that close. We were good for a couple green-white checkers. We were really, we were good enough. We were just having him slow it down, take care of tires, take care of fuel. There was no reason to push the issue. It's nice to have a car like that today.
It was a textbook win, wasn't it? And that Kyle Busch extends his wins record here at Phoenix.
I wasn't sure he was going to stop. I thought he might try to make a lap all the way around on that burnout.
I think the tires decided that they had enough. There it goes.
There's the sparks as he's probably riding on rims now. The exhaust pipes dragging along the ground as he'll make his way back to victory lane. Kyle Busch, a great win after leading 190 laps in Phoenix. We're going to hear from him when we return. And that's a very common sight in the Xfinity Series. Watching Kyle Busch bow to the crowd with the checkered flag in hand. He has done it 76 times in his career. And now the question will be, can he get the car into victory lane? Looks like the left rear tire is still up. He has the checkered flag in hand in the car. He will make a U-turn behind pit road wall. Left rear tire, or excuse me, right rear tire is completely shredded. Daytona to start off the year. Kyle Busch in a huge accident, ending up breaking his leg and his foot. And then after missing 11 Cup Series races, has been able to get back behind the wheel of the car, not only in the Cup Series, but the Xfinity Series, and continue his dominance. This is the third track that Kyle Busch has scored 8 wins. Charlotte and Bristol are the other 2, and he's going to give up on trying to get it into victory lane. He's going to climb out. The car got close, but wasn't able to turn it all the way to get in there. Mike?
And Kyle Busch successfully led 190 laps today. Nobody had anything for him, but you can't get in the gate in victory lane. What's going on?
They always tell you to burn it down, right? So we burned her down a little too much.
How would you describe this day? 190 laps out front.
Yeah, it was a really dominant day. I mean, this Monster Energy Camry, I told you before, as long as we didn't screw it up, it was really, really fast and had a great potential to win today's race. And obviously we were successful at being able to do that. So I can't say enough about Chris Gale. Everyone at Joe Gibbs Racing, body shop, chassis shop, engine shop, JGR engines were awesome today. And again, Monster Energy's been awesome, and Toyota TRD, their support. And we just continue to try to, rack up wins, I guess. We thank the fans for being here. And I missed the spring race here, so we had to make sure we kept the record alive of me at least getting a win here at Phoenix.
All right, so some momentum now as we go into Sunday, a race that has a whole different meaning for you. What are your feelings as you head into Sunday?
Pretty good. We got our car rolling a little bit better there in happy hour, the M&M's Camry on that side. It was good, and I'd like it to be better than what it was, but we'll see how it stacks up when we get in the race. Learned some things here today that I think can help me, and looking forward to seeing Adam here in a little bit.
Congratulations on the big victory. Good luck on Sunday. All
right, perfect.
Kyle Busch in victory lane once again here at the Phoenix International Raceway, Rick.
And all smiles for Kyle Busch. He'll want to continue that momentum tomorrow afternoon when he gets behind the wheel of his number 18 Toyota Camry. and tries to get the win and solidify a position with Jeff Gordon in the championship 4 as they go to Miami. Let's take a look at the results from this, the penultimate race in the Xfinity Series. Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski finishing 1-2 for the 14th time in their career. It's the 8th time that Brad has won between the duo.
See the points leader Chris Buescher back in 13th. I think going into Homestead, he's going to have to try to protect that 18-point lead.
For the back in the field, Ryan Reed, 23rd. Jeremy Clements in 30th. Dylan Kwasniewski involved in that very hard hit on the back stretch. Finishes 34th. We look at the championship points with 1 race remaining. Championship weekend coming up in Miami. Chris Buescher, 18 points. That's 18 positions on the track.
And why Chase Elliott, Ty Dillon, Regan Smith all gained points on Chris Buescher. I think they're going to look back on this as an opportunity lost. Chris Buescher could only muster a 13th place finish. Those 3 had the opportunity with a top 2 or 3 run to really make a dent in this points lead. Instead, they go into Homestead with about an 18-point deficit.
Moments ago, Marty caught up with Chase Elliott.
Well, Chase Elliott finishes 7th here at Phoenix today, and how frustrating was that, knowing that Buescher wasn't running that well, but you just couldn't capitalize?
Yeah, we hadn't had, like I said on the radio, about 15,000 opportunities to get the 7 and the 3. I messed every single one of them up, so you can't give up free points like that, and I felt like we had plenty of opportunities to get 2 more, and I messed that up. But you know, there's still next week. A lot of things can still happen. We're not giving up. And we just need to go have a solid effort in Homestead.
It seemed like also the car on that last run just wasn't where it needed to be, and wasn't what it was earlier in the day either.
I felt like we made some gains on it throughout the day, but so did everybody else. I think that was kind of the difference. And some guys made their cars better on the longer run. I felt like that was our strong suit at the beginning of the day, and other guys just kind of kept getting better there. And I felt like we gained on it and just never could get it right. But again, I thought our long run speed was okay. I just couldn't get by those next 2.
We talked championship all along. You go into Homestead down 18. Assess the chances there. Obviously, the 60 is going to have some problems.
Yeah, I mean, 18 is. It's really not much. That's 18 spots. I mean, that's 1 mistake left or right, up or down. That's getting in the gas too soon and slapping the wall with the right rear and having an issue. Just so many things can happen. I could sit here and name, an endless amount, but there's just a lot of things that can happen. We need to have a solid week and hope for the best.
Chase Elliott and this 9 team still in it, 18 points down as they go to Homestead.
Chris Buescher finished 13th today, and I know it was not an easy race for you. How much did you have to fight the handling on the 60 car today?
I wasn't fighting it so much. It's so tight. It was just put the wheel to it and see what it would do. But, the guys worked really hard through practice. They tried really hard to get a better car here. We've changed just about everything, so we still got to reinvent something to get our Roush cars going around Phoenix. But in the grand scheme of things, it was a decent day. We're going to Homestead. That's comfortable. I'd say I could finally use the word. I mean, we can go there and race and just stay out of trouble and should be in good shape. We were really fast there last year, so I'm looking forward to getting into that one, knowing that this was going to be the tough race for us. So I think the 54 obviously had the dominant car today, and so congrats to him. It's a heck of a way to win this deal, but we're going to go on to the next one. We're not done yet.
I know this hasn't been your favorite place perhaps to race. I mean, do you feel like there's some weight lifted off your shoulders now to put Phoenix behind you?
I'm glad it's done, because this historically this is the place where things happen. It's the easiest place to get caught up in an accident. It's the easiest place to have a mistake somewhere, brakes, tires. With that long run there at the end, that's asking a lot out of these tires. So that's tough to grasp when we come out here. But it's okay. I mean, we made it. We made it through Phoenix. We're off to our good track.
And with an 18-point lead headed into Homestead.
Top 5 for Ty Dillon today, and he gains points in the championship. Still a lot of work left to do at Homestead. How would you assess today, Ty?
It was a championship battle for us today, and we proved ourselves tough and fired off, and our car was nothing like it was in practice. I don't know if all the laps from the Cup cars really affected our car, but we weren't very good, and Nick and the guys on the West Coast Chevy did a great job of making adjustments. Got a little bit better, kind of got on the other side, got a little too loose. We came in and gambled there at the end and took 2 tires and stretched it 86 laps or so, and the car was good enough for me to do it. So just proud of our efforts, man. All these top 5s are really impressive, and just we're going to keep battling, man. We're knocking these points down, getting back in this thing, and I'm just proud of our effort, and can't thank Wesco and Chevy and Xfinity for putting on a great series, and this is just a lot of fun. I'm enjoying myself right now.
Were you aware that Buescher was having issues, and did you wish you could pounce a little harder and maybe go for the W and get some more bonus points?
I didn't know he was having any issues. I was kind of hoping he would have some issues, but those guys are a good team, and we're battling. We're better than them right now. We just gotta make it happen at Homestead.
Preview for us next week. What kind of speed have you felt at that track before, and how much do you think you can accomplish down there?
I really like that racetrack. I'm going to be running the Cup race, so I'm going to get a lot of experience, a lot of laps, and hopefully, it definitely has been good for Eric Jones when he's been getting in the Cup car and coming out. So, and I know every time I've done it, it's been really good for me. So I'm excited for the opportunity next week, and the way we're running right now, I'm just proud of our effort and our whole team together, and just we're getting better and better, and no matter what, we're going to give it all we got in Homestead.
Fifth place today for Ty Dillon, 22 points back heading to next week.
And Dave, again, we look at the point standings with 1 race to go. We tried to catch up with Regan Smith, not able to do that, as we heard from the championship contenders. But Regan Smith, 24 points back. Chase Elliott, the closest. And Chase mentioned a few things about, only 18 points is 18 positions. A lot of things can happen. One of those, he smacks the wall. And I know both of you referenced the fact that they run right up against the wall at Miami.
Well, and you also can cut that. You can cut that by winning the race, because that gives you bonus points. Leading laps gives you bonus points. So there's a way to cut that 18-point deficit if you go out and perform. And you're right, there is an opportunity for mistakes at Homestead because you run right against the wall.
Let's go back trackside to Marty Snyder.
Austin Dillon had a top 5 run going, and then at the end had to pit under green. What happened there? Was it a loose wheel? Did you guys get the correct wheel?
Yeah, we had a loose right rear. Just part of the game. We're trying to get as much as we can on pit road, and it didn't work out for us. So, proud of our Ream Chevy. We were probably a 4th place car there, and we didn't take off really well. So we just got to work on that the next time. We had a car that could take off. We kind of dialed that out because we felt like long run speed was going to be important. But truthfully, it was all track position. There wasn't much passing today. So we're going to work on it when we come back. We got 1 Xfinity race to go and see how it ends.
With a car like the 54 is that dominant. Is it frustrating behind the wheel knowing you're doing all you can do, but you can't gain any ground?
Yeah, I mean, it breaks your will for sure, but you just got to stay strong and keep working and try and learn what you can from them guys that are running well. So I'm sure they've done a lot to make their car fast this weekend, and we just got to go to work back at home at Welcome, North Carolina.
We'll certainly try to get the 33 car in victory lane next weekend, but Brother Ty is in the midst of a championship battle, 22 down. You figured out how to win this Xfinity Series championship a couple times. What advice will you give him next week?
Their biggest deal with 22 points out, they got to go win the race, put as much pressure on the 60 as they can, and he's going to have a mistake. So go to work and see what you can do to win the last race.
All right, Austin going to help Brother Ty as much as he can next week to win that championship. Dave?
Marty, Bubba Wallace finished in a top 10 position here, 8th today. And Seth told me this morning that you had worked on your line here a little bit after watching some Harvick tape, which is probably a smart thing to do. How much did that help today?
Yeah, Harvick's not good here at all, so I don't know why I watched that tape, but no. This hasn't been one of my best tracks, so I had to study up, had to do a lot of studying, and we worked on our car, on our Ford Mustang, so much in practice. And after that first round, I didn't think we'd finish 8th, so to come out here with the top 10 finish is a pat on the back to my whole team. We made some big changes there in that second round of practice and got us where we needed to be. We're still lacking a little bit of speed, but something to not hang our heads about. We can use this as momentum to go into Homestead. Just closing in on the last race of the season. We're winless, I know that, but I think that adds a little bit more fire to our team and to myself to go out there and put on a show at Homestead. We did it last year in the trucks. Why can't we do it again, right?
I agree with that. And this is your first year at Roush Fenway Racing. It's your rookie year in the Xfinity Series. So at this point, win or not next week, evaluate your season.
Yeah, it's been good. And I've been calling a lot of shots for changes, so I kind of that hasn't been my best suit to understanding the car as much, but this has definitely been a learning curve year for me, learning the cars, learning the series really, and how to get these cars better. And I feel like I've done an okay job at that. Seth might think otherwise. He might think I'm the worst one, but I think we're all having fun, and that's the biggest thing. I think the fun was lost there a little bit mid-season, and the results shown that. So we just got to keep bringing smiles back to the racetrack and go to Homestead and have fun, put it up there against the wall, and let her eat.
We hope the working hard together comes in with a win next week for Bubba Wallace. Rick?
Yeah, Dave, 22 years old. Darrell Wallace Jr., the youth of this sport, really shining today. Darrell Wallace Jr. finished 8th. How about 23-year-old Daniel Suarez? He comes home 4th, still looking for that first win. Just moments ago, Kelly Stavas caught up with him.
Another top 5 finish for Daniel Suarez, who actually has a win here at Phoenix from the Mexico series. What is it about this track that suits you so well?
I don't really know. I think it's one of those places that it's just pretty good for my driving style, I guess. And I remember my first races here in the NASCAR K&N Series and West Series. I used to be here, so I have a pretty good feeling about this place. It's a really cool place for me. It's close from home, so I feel almost like my second home. So it's been pretty good. Very proud of everyone enjoying racing. A solid weekend. Yesterday, last night in the Rock Series, today in the XFINITY Series, 2 top 5s. It's not horrible. Really, we want more. We have to keep working. But very proud. Our Toyota Camry was strong. I'm happy about that. Also, I want to thank everyone in Mexico for all the support, XFINITY to put a great series together, and Toyota for the great power.
So many people have sang your praises throughout this season. One race to go. Where have you felt the biggest improvements here in the XFINITY series for you?
I think you know, it's hard to say one thing. I mean, it's so many different things. But something very important is to earn the respect from all these drivers with a lot of experience, Cup drivers. And I think that is something that we have been, you know, doing slowly with the races. I feel like we have been gaining some respect, some experience, and that's something really good. I'm very happy about how it's been working out this 2015 so far, but I'm working hard to try to get my first win. So hopefully we can get it next week or work hard for next year.
One more chance for Daniel to get his first XFINITY Series win. 4th place finish today.
A 3rd place today for Eric Jones in the middle of his triple run this weekend. Talk about your day, Eric, and your teammate was obviously outstanding. Could you see him from where you were?
Yeah, I could. You know, I think, you know, we just weren't good enough, and it just was weird. I don't know. It spaced out there on the start. You know, the 54 would kind of jump out, and the 22 would fall back, and we would fall back. And then within 15 laps, we kind of all stayed in the same spot. I don't know if it's tire or what. I think that was a lot of it. Just really couldn't do a whole lot with them. So the GameStop Camry was good, and we got it better throughout the day, but, you know, just not good enough to run up with him.
So, as I said, in the middle of your triple this weekend, what did you pick up today? What did you pick up last night, adding to what you're going to do tomorrow?
Just these tires are going to be really, really a handful tomorrow. They were Friday night, and they were today as well. Just really nasty the way they kind of go through a run and cycle. They start out really, really free and then just get really tight. And you got to start really free to be good at the end of a run, which I thought we were wrecking loose there at the start, and we still got really, really tight. So we've been struggling with the same thing in the Cup car as well. So we'll just see how things progress and see what happens tomorrow.
And I guess I'm wondering, is that no matter where you try to put it on the track, line doesn't make a difference? You got the same issue wherever?
Yeah, I think, you know, their idea was here with this tire that the groove was going to widen out somewhat, you know, with it being softer. But the thing is, you know, it's Phoenix. The groove, it's going to be on the bottom no matter what if your stuff's good. So I don't think the groove's really widened out. I think it's just laying down a ton of rubber, and the tires are picking up a ton of rubber, and they just feel real gummy, and it just kind of makes it go through a run and get tight at the end.
Nonetheless, a strong top 5 for Eric today.
Thanks, Dave. Kyle Busch wins the Xfinity race. Can he win tomorrow and punch his ticket for the championship? Who will join Jeff Gordon in Miami running for that championship? And can anybody beat Kevin Harvick? We'll talk about that next.
you have an opportunity to battle for the championship, you're going to do whatever it takes.
Gordon wins at Martinsville.
Yeah, baby! Yeah, we're going to Homestead! Yeah!
The drive for 5 is still alive!
Now we've got the opportunity to do something special.
Who is going to join Jeff Gordon in Miami, running for the championship? Tomorrow, we are going to find out. NASCAR America on NBCSN at 1:30 p.m. The Countdown to Green, served by Sonic on NBC at 2 o'clock. And then 2:30, Sprint Cup Series, Quicken Loans Race for Heroes 500. Followed by post-race show on NBCSN. And Victory Lap, a 90-minute show beginning at 6:30 p.m. Take a look at the grid as we have just one race left in round 3 with Jeff Gordon's win at Martinsville. He is guaranteed a shot at the championship. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Martin Truex Jr. all above that cutoff line of the 4 that will run for the championship. Can they keep those positions, hang on, and have a shot at the title? That's the big question. And can anyone beat Kevin Harvick at Phoenix? Those are questions that will be answered tomorrow.
Well, I think the guy looked really good in practice today was Kurt Busch. You know, he needs to win the race. He is not going to get in with points unless something really big happens. So he needs to win this race. And if you watch practice today, he has a really good shot of doing that and moving himself in. And if he does win, that moves somebody out in points. So competition doesn't want to see him win the race for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, and I think that's where the pressure is going to build, is when you look higher up the grid at the guys that have to do it on points. Because I think the 41, like Jeff said, he showed speed. Well, it's clear what he needs to do. He must go win. But if you're Carl Edwards, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, those guys have to protect these points. They've got to think about a win as a guaranteed berth at Homestead, but what happens with the point situation? They're going to be battling points all afternoon long.
And of course, 2 drivers that will be very hungry will be the Penske drivers. You've got Joey Logano, who has to win. He cannot mathematically point his way into the championship. And then Brad Keselowski. In a similar situation, 2 drivers that really are in a must-win situation if they want to run for the championship in Miami.
Yeah, no question. They have some work to do to their race cars, too. In practice, they just didn't look as good as they needed to be. They didn't show that typical Penske speed that we see. So they're going to have to work tonight to find some speed to get a little better going into tomorrow's race.
Yeah, that is surprising and can be disappointing to the Penske duo, who have been so good all year long. But in this chase format, it doesn't matter all year long. It matters the round you're in.
And when we're in Phoenix, everyone is measured against Kevin Harvick. His numbers are incredible. In 25 starts, 7 wins. That's the most of any drivers at Phoenix. He's won the last 4 races at this racetrack. 10 top 5 finishes, 14 top 10 finishes. His average finish at this track just outside of top 10 in those 25 starts.
Yeah, we heard him in the Meteor Center this weekend already say, I haven't thought about my teammate. I haven't thought about points. All I've thought about all week is coming to Phoenix to win. I think that's the right mindset for the 4 team. A win, and he's automatically through. Forget the points. That has to be his goal.
But this is the same thing we said about Jimmy Johnson going to Dover, and he had a mechanical issue, did not finish the race, did not advance into the next round. Past success guarantees you nothing tomorrow.
Okay, so you have Jeff Gordon, we know he's going to be running for the championship. Who's the biggest competition, if they do make it to Homestead, that would get in the way of Jeff Gordon winning that title?
Well, how could you not pick Kevin Harvick? He's the defending champion. Tremendous amount of race wins. I look at Joey Logano. Why he's in a must-win here. If he can win here, think of the momentum he would have heading to Miami.
Yeah, I don't think you can count out Truex and his team. That's the kind of racetrack they've been really, really good on. If they can transfer their way in, I just don't know how you can count this team out, because, you know, the 1.5 mile racetracks. And remember, Homestead is a high groove racetrack. Martin Truex is exceptionally good on these high groove racetracks. So if they can move forward, I think they have a real shot.
There are a lot of contenders that want to make it into the championship 4, including Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., drivers like Kevin Harvick, so good on the 1.5 mile tracks. NASCAR playoffs continue tomorrow. Coverage of the Quicken Loans Race for Heroes 500 is on NBC at 2 p.m. Eastern. Pre-race starts with NASCAR America at 1:30 p.m. on NBCSN. Of course, all your complete post-race needs will follow the checkered flag on NBCSN, as well as NASCAR Victory Lap, a special 90-minute edition. Coming up next, Formula One qualifying from Brazil. Congratulations, Kyle Busch winning once again in the Xfinity Series at Phoenix.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.